Hey guys, thanks for coming to the channel today. So today I am making a shelf for my Switch games. I have made one of these previously, but the one I have made is filled already, and this version I wanted to make a larger shelf so I could fit more games, and I also wanted it to be mountable on the wall. And when I made the original shelf, I did not have access to a CNC machine, and I do on this one, so that's what you're seeing right now is me going through and making some of the tool paths for the slots we're going to cut. Alright, so you can see there, that's what it's going to look like after I run it on the CNC. And I'm going to rip that down the middle to get my two sides, which you will see that later. But the reason I did it on the CNC is because I think it's fun to use the CNC. I know it could be done with another tool, probably a table saw, quicker, or maybe a pull saw, but I have the CNC, so that's what I like to use. But anyway, here is the butternut I chose for this little project. I chose butternut because it's soft, and most importantly, it doesn't weigh a lot. I knew it was going to be hanging on my wall, so that's why we went with it. Plus, it was available, so that's a big win. So here I am. I'm just getting the blanks cut out, and here we are on the joiner. I gotta get a good solid face. That way, when I go to plane it for thickness, the board won't have any bows or anything in it. It'll be relatively flat. And I didn't show it there, but I did the edge of it also, so that when I rip it to my rough width here, I have a good straight line to rip it off of. Oh, and here's the part where I tell you, don't do what I do. If you're working in a shop, use all the proper safety equipment. Don't follow my lead here, because I don't typically use a lot of that stuff. But anyway, so here we are at the thickness planer. And we're just trying to get it, I'm trying to keep it as thick as possible because the design was a 1-inch thick piece with 1/2-inch grooves cut into it. And I think we end up a little bit thinner than that, but it's really not a big deal. I had plenty of extra thickness. So here we're cutting the board to length that I'm going to be using on the CNC to get my sides cut out of. There it is, nice and flat and shiny. Haven't sanded it yet. Got a little defect there, but I think it'll come out with some sanding, and it may even come out when I rip it to the final sizes. Here's the CNC cutting out the notches. I don't know about you guys, but I could absolutely watch a CNC go all day long. There's the finished product. It's got a lot of loose pieces there, just like frayed from where it was cutting little bits, but nothing the sander can't take care of. And seeing as how this is a soft, lightweight wood, I got to be careful when I'm sanding because it's very easy to dig a hole, especially with the sander I use. It has a locking gear, and so it could really like cut through some wood and dig holes pretty easily. There it is after the fact, looking nice and flat and smooth. That's what we're looking for. Alright, now we are using the same table saw, and I'm going to rip it to the final lengths. All the steps up until then, or up until now, I've been kind of cutting stuff a little bit wider and thicker than I needed to, just so I don't short myself, which I will end up doing later, you'll see. And I really didn't like ripping these. Something about the notches in it, like I can't just slide my hand back very easily. I feel like my hand keeps getting caught, and so it's not a fun one to rip, so I'm glad those are over with. Alright, now here is the coolest part of the CNC, is when I was doing the logos in the side of it. which I have a Nintendo logo here. And yeah, like I said, I could just watch a CNC go the entire day. There it is, roughed out on the CNC. It turned out really clean. I was kind of concerned. Well, you can see right there on the end, the top and bottom part. I used a tool path that would use out like a cleaner tool, so it would come out and like hog out the big sections. And for some reason, the start depth on that was a little bit lower than the rest of it, so that's why I had them little circles. But you don't really notice it. But here's the other designs that are on the opposite side. And here they are on the CNC. And fun fact, usually when you use a V-bit like I'm using, you kind of get like a rough texture. Like on the, where there's like a big flat area like this Animal Crossing leaf. But fun fact, I dropped the bit prior to this and kind of blunted the end of it. And I didn't get any of that, so not that I would recommend it, but that could be the reason why right here on Kirby's cheeks they were really shallow, because it was using the very tip. So that could very easily be why it wasn't quite as deep as I wanted it to be. But anywho, there they are side by side, and we're going to give them a good sanding here. Now I'm spray painting it here. The reason I'm doing this is once I sand that off and put the finish on, it's going to look really vibrant and you can see the details a lot better. And now I'm making blanks for the top and bottom of the shelf here. I'm doing the same process as before. I'm getting a flat face, and then I'm going to do an edge, which I think I remember to show you on this one. Yeah, there we go. And I made a few extra pieces just because you never know what could blow out or break or whatnot, so I made plenty extra. Same as before, just getting this down to thickness. Now we're taking the tape off, that way we can see what we're working with here. Now this paint didn't actually have that much time to set up, so it was really gumming up my sandpaper. So I had to change it a few times, but I found if I kind of hold it at an angle and use it more of like an angle grinder, it can get it off and then not fill the paper up so much. Then I can go back and smooth it out. Now this one here was a little bit challenging because of the cheeks on Kirby. I didn't want to lose the cheeks. And it sounds hilarious, but going at an angle like that, it was a pretty aggressive way to do it, and it was taking off more wood than I thought, so I ended up losing most of them. But you can still kind of see them. There we are, just blowing the dust out, getting ready for the next step. So here's the concept. We're going to have a backer board that's not there at the moment, of course, but that's the idea. So I have plenty of room for the games to slide in and out very easily. I've made one of these before where the board's warped and the games were not able to fit, so And here's my backer board. Remember how I said earlier I wanted to make stuff wider than I needed? Well, that one wasn't quite wide enough. So I got my second board, my backup. And it wasn't quite right. Fantastic. Went and got another board, and there we go, finally. I actually had to cheat this one down just a little bit to make it work. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of cheating the width on it. It's not super important to the whole deal, but you know, I made it work. Sometimes you gotta do that. And now here is maybe the most frustrating part. Well, not this. I'm sizing it with everybody's favorite Nintendo Switch game, Dragon Ball. But here we go. So gluing this was sort of a pain because I had all those little teeth to put all the glue on. I didn't want to have a lot of glue because once I put these together, it'd be really hard to like get a chisel down in between those to like scrape it out or whatever. And I certainly can't sand down in that corner once it's put together. So I was really trying to be sensible with the glue here. And then these micro pins are what I'm using, which it's like a finish nail, but it's a whole lot thinner. And these ones I was using were really long, like 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. My thought was, since they're really small, they can go deeper and hold better. But since they were so long and thin, the grain on this wood was aggressive enough. It kept bending the pins as I was shooting them in, and it would curl the pins out and go out the edge of the boards. It would curl them in and poke inside where the games would be. It was really frustrating. But I was smart, and if I would get out of the way, you could see I used my cutoff there. Oh, there it just quit shooting, so I had to kind of clear the chamber there. But I used my cutoff that looks like dental mold there, so that I would set it on top, and then I would know exactly where to pin it. That way I could not just have to blindly take shots. And there I'm investigating all the nails that came through, which really wasn't that bad, but there was definitely a few of them. There's one. It's very hard to see because they're really small, but there's one. And I kept finding more. If you see there, there's holes in the wood. It looks like from worms or whatever. Looks pretty neat. Alright, so I went ahead and clamped it, even though I put the pins in it. The pins are really just to hold it in place while I clamp it, because the glue is the strength of it, not the nails. So, but gluing this up was a pain too, because you see I have two different boards on each side trying to keep it, give me a good surface to clamp onto, because I didn't want to dent the wood very much. So trying to juggle all that and also not bend the walls in too much because they're pretty loose there. It was a struggle. Glad I did not record that because no one needs to see that. I was there in person. It was awful. So this piece here is going to be the top and bottom that I'm going to attach. Same way I attach the sides with glue and the micro pins. Here you can hear me in the background telling my dad, I was like, I can't believe how bad these pins are. And he was basically saying, yeah they are. Sound like an Animal Crossing character at this point. You can see I was very conscious to move my hands because I've been stabbed with a stray nail before, and it's not fun. So I was trying to keep my hands free there, especially since these have a tendency to bend and shoot out through the sides and go places you don't plan on them going. I got brave and shot a couple more in here. I'll regret that soon. Yeah, I was showing my dad there. That grain is really tight and hard where there was like a limb or something. So, yeah. But anyway, check this out. The other day when I was in there working, it started snowing. So it was quite the view from the shop. Alright, so it's been a day or two, and now the glue has set up, and I'm good to sand it. And as you can tell from the workbench here, it is worked on every day. This isn't a hobby one, so got a lot of stuff on there, but everything usually has a use. So at least that's what I tell my dad. So I just sanded it with the regular sander, then I went back with some hand sandpaper and kind of knocked the corners down. I didn't want it to be super sharp looking. Not that I thought it would like cut anybody, I just think it looks better with it kind of eased off a little bit on the corners. So this finish that I'm applying is a water-based clear coat. I chose the water-based because I felt like, and there could be some flawed logic here, to keep it from warping, thought if the finish was water-based, maybe it would soak in more and then be able to hold it better. I don't know. I don't think there's any real logic behind that, but it felt good in the moment. So I want to make sure I got the inside really well because I know I wouldn't be able to sand that. So now I'm just giving the rest of it a once over, or maybe a twice over. Really getting it a good coat there because I didn't really want to do a second one. So I was just putting a really heavy coat on because I knew I would sand the outsides of it and kind of knock it down. And I've used this finish on other things. Nothing that couldn't move. Like see there, I put the heat on it and that was fine for a little bit until I came in the next day and realized I left the heat on the entire night. So look at how bowed this got just overnight. The video does not do it justice, but this will. Remember how much slop I had when I put that in last time, and it's not even close. So, pretty panicked because this had happened before when I made one, but anyway, I decided I had to move on anyway. So what you saw me do there was take a piece of sandpaper and knock down the aggressiveness of the sandpaper that's on the sander. That way it's kind of like having a finer grit because I'm not looking to really cut through the finish. I'm just trying to buff it. Then I can put my finishing wax on top of that. Alright, so these are little spacers I came up with that I would put in here to keep the shelf spread apart. And they were the exact size they had to be. But even then, I had to bevel one edge on the edge sander just to kind of taper it so it can start loose and then get tighter the more I tap it down. And let me tell you, I was nervous, but it worked. Then I realized, oh, not all the way. I'm going to have my other ones. So I made extras just for this type of occasion. And you might be looking at this thinking, wow, is that a grown man trying to divide 30 by 3? And it was. And then I realized, wait, I have to divide it by 4 because I have 3 spacers. And then I realized the first one I put in wasn't even in the middle. So it was really a disaster. But I don't think it'll matter because my hope is eventually... Oh yeah, and I was listening to it. You could hear it popping and cracking with tension. So I was like, oh geez, hope this doesn't explode. But it didn't. But I was hoping after it's in my house for a while and the AC and the heat gets on it and whatnot, it will sort of relax the wood a little bit and them shelves will just come out without too much issue. So I didn't even bother finishing them. And here is the finishing wax I'm putting on. And it's sort of like the Johnson's paste wax. It's not because I quit making that, but it's very similar. And I just give everything a once over. Give a good heavy coat, and then I buff it off. And there I am drilling the holes for my screws. And that's the finished product. You can see the black spray paint really made the details pop out on that. Here it is hanging in my living room. It was nighttime, so it's kind of a bad shadow, but you get the idea. It's hanging on the wall here. Actually mounted just fine. And yeah, couldn't have asked for a well, I could have asked for a better one, I guess. I wouldn't have had to put some spacers in, but here's the finished product with the games loaded in it. And here's my previous one. This is the one that worked, but wasn't quite big enough for all of our games. Thanks again for coming to the channel today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, leave a like and subscribe for me. Leave a comment too if you feel ever so inclined. But anyway, stick around for more and check out the channel. Maybe you'll find something else you want to watch. Thanks. Bye.